When I found out I was going to be a parent, I immediately felt a lot of anxiety and worry. So I went on to BetterHelp to try to look for a therapist to help me with that.
My relationship with my family and with my boyfriend and with myself were suffering. I really needed help.
I was ruminating a lot. Really getting those thoughts out to a therapist and getting feedback was just life-changing.
Discover what BetterHelp Online Therapy can do for you. Visit BetterHelp.com today.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
Hey, warmer from the low. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. We've got an excellent podcast for you as we've got in segment number 2, one of our good friends, Curtis Rogers. He's a pre- and post-game host for the Seattle Mariners over on 710 Seattle Sports. We're going to chat with him about the disappointing American League teams. We have beat up on the Mets and the Phillies enough, and I will continue to talk about those disappointing teams, but we'll take a look at some of the American League disappointments, how wild that AL West race is, the outlook of the Seattle Mariners, the team that he covers, and just a few surprises that he's had for this season, both positive and negative. In the final segment, going to get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this baseball Sunday as we touch them all. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one or two ways we offer those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, there's the mean does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. Why did not get in any Twitter/X questions today? We had ourselves a fun day of baseball on Saturday. Let's take a look back at it, try to find some trends, and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
The San Francisco Giants look to be finding it a little bit more. They get the job done by kind of 6-2 over the Miami Marlins. For Robbie Ray, it was hip hooray to a relatively solid start. He goes 5 innings, gives up 1 run, not a ton of length, but bullpen is back from there. Matt Gage, Keaton Winn, Eric Miller, all supply a scoreless inning. Ryan Walker, unearned run given up in his inning of work. And for the Giants, they found some power. Eloy Ramos, third home run of the season. Casey Schmidt is second, and then home run number 2 for Drew Gilbert as Eri Perez, not the start that he was looking for. 5 1/3 innings, allows 4 runs, all of which were earned, including a pair of home runs. From there, Anthony Bender, a pair of outs out of the bullpen, scoreless. Tyler Phillips, he gives up 2 runs over the course of 2 innings. So Giants looking to be able to restore a little bit of order and be able to get things all online. The Red Sox had themselves a very eventful day on Saturday. They win 17-1 over the Orioles thanks to a 10 spot in the 9th inning. Trevor Rogers, 1 2/3 innings. He gives up 3 runs. He is lifted from this game very, very early. From there, Tyler Wells pitches Wells, 1 1/3 innings scoreless. Albert Suarez in long relief, 4 innings. He does allow 4 runs. All were unearned. There were 3 errors out there in the field. And then in the back half of this game, Keegan Aiken, he goes for an inning. He gives up 6 runs, all of which were earned, including a home run. And then you had 4 runs allowed in an inning by Weston Wilson, the position player, including a pair of home runs. Going deep for the Red Sox, Wilson Contreras, 5th home run of the season. Andrew Marisario, his first, and that was a grand slam. He did that a lot with the Milwaukee Brewers, by the way. And how about Caleb Durbin finally getting on the board for his first home run as a Red Sox? Garrett Crochet, after some very shaky starts, 6 scoreless innings out of him. Greg Weisert, an unearned run, give it up in an inning. Danny Kalum, and then Tyler Semenazio were both able to give you a scoreless inning. So for the Red Sox, they are now 10-17 with a canned manager, but they did get a 17-1 win in this one. For the Tampa Bay Rays, they find a way to be able to persevere over the Minnesota Twins. 6-1 the final. Shane McClanahan looked a little bit more like his normal self. 7 punch-outs and 5 scoreless innings. Kevin Kelly, 2 scoreless innings. Hunter Biggie, a scoreless inning. Trevor Martin does give up a run in an inning, but by then the game had already been salted away, and for the Minnesota Twins, not necessarily what they were hoping for out of Bailey Ober. Not terrible. 2 runs allowed over the course of 6 innings, more like not what they were hoping for out of the bullpen. Taylor Rogers, 3 runs allowed, and he did not get a single out of the bullpen. Eric Orze, a scoreless inning, but Graham Acton, he gives up a run in an inning, and for the Rays going deep, it was home run number 2 of the season for Jake Fraley. So the Rays now 15-11. They're putting together a nice start to the season. For the Seattle Mariners, they played a gong show out there in St. Louis, 11-9. They were able to take down the Cardinals. For the Cardinals, they, in a losing record, had Ivan Herrera get his 4th home run season. Pedro Paez, his 2nd home run season. Nate Church goes deep twice. Home runs number 3 and 4 of the season. And J.J. Weatherholt, his 4th home run of the season. But Matthew Livator gave up 3 home runs. 3 1/3 innings. He gives up 5 runs. As for the Seattle Mariners, Julio Rodriguez, his 2nd home run of the season. You had Cole Young get his third home run of the season. Then how about home run number 1 of the season for the backup third baseman in Will Wilson? As for the Cardinals, from there, the bullpen was not great. Yeah, Gordon Gaseffo give up a run in 2/3 of an inning. Justin Brule, a scoreless inning. George Soriano gives up a run in an inning. Ryan Stanek, pair of outside the bullpen scoreless. Jojo Romero, 2 runs allowed in 2/3 of an inning. Riley O'Brien, 2 runs allowed in his inning work. Matt Savanson got a pair of outside the bullpen scoreless, but by then, the damage had been done, and Brian Wu, well, he was damaged. 4 home runs allowed, 7 runs allowed in 3 innings, but bullpen at his back. Cooper Criswell does give up 2 runs in his 2 innings of work, including a home run, but Jose Ferrer, 2 scoreless innings. Matt Brash, Andres Munoz, scoreless 8th and 9th innings to be able to get the job done for Seattle. Also being able to get the job done, the Washington Nationals, 6-3. They take it to the Chicago White Sox in 10 innings, if you had the under in this game. This was a game that was 2-2 going into extras, and then you had a 5 spot in the 9th inning of these 2 teams as Jake Irvin, 9 punch-outs and 5 2/3 innings scoreless. Did not see that coming. Mason Parker, he comes in for 1 1/3 innings, gives up 2 runs. Gus Varland, Cino Perez, they both on a scoreless inning. Brad Lord said, "Oh Lord," to get in the hold in this game. An unearned run given up in the 10th inning, and for Noah Schultz, he continues to be solid as a young gun for the White Sox. 2 runs allowed over the course of 6 innings. From there, Jordan Nix, Grant Taylor, and Tyler Davison in his MLB debut. I'll give you a scoreless inning, but Jordan Leisure in the 10th inning. Leisure Lee lights this game on fire. 4 runs, 3 of which were earned in 2/3 of an inning. As Valdo Vito gets it out of the bullpen scoreless, but by then it had been much too little, much too late for the Toronto Blue Jays. They look to be trying to get back online. 5-3, they take it to the Cleveland Guardians as Joey Cantillo. 3 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings. He does give up a home run to Kazuma Okamoto, 5th home run in the campaign. From there, Matthew Fessa, Peyton Palante, they both give up a run in an inning. Connor Brogdon a scoreless inning, but another nice start out of Kevin Gausman. 2 runs allowed in 6 2/3 innings. Does give up a home run to David Fry, first home run of the season, but Mason Flaharty and out of the bullpen scoreless. Tyler Rogers, Louis Varland, they're both able to supply a scoreless inning of their own. The Philadelphia Phillies, our nation's nightmare is over. After 10 straight losses, they finally get the job done. They take down the Atlanta Braves in extra innings by a count of 8-5 in the return of Zach Wheelin' and Dealin' Wheeler. And in this day, he was somewhat wheeling and dealing. 2 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings. From there, Tanner Banks gives up 2 runs and he gets no outs out the bullpen, but Orion Kirkering, Jose Alvarado, Brad Keller all give you 4 outs out of the bullpen squirrels. Kyle Buckets gives up an unearned run in the 10th inning as this went extras. Bryce Elder did not look elderly, did not look amazing either. 3 runs allowed over the course of 7 innings. Dylan Lee, Tyler Kinley, they both come in for an inning. Lee gives up a run, and then you had Kinley give up 2 runs, one of which was earned, and then Jose Suarez gives up a pair in the 10th inning for the Phillies. They were finally able to get online, 3 of 11 with men in scoring position, put up a 4 spot in the 10th inning, so they are finally out of that losing streak. For the Reds, well, they're on to being 18-9 right now, 9-2. They take down the Detroit Tigers. Captain Jack Flaherty was captain of the SS Poo Poo Platter. 6 runs allowed over the course of 2 innings. From there, Birch Smith, 2 scoreless innings. Tyler Holton, he gives up 2 runs in an inning. Connor Siebold, and out of the bullpen scoreless, Derek Anderson, he gives up 1 run in 2 2/3 innings as Flaherty gave up 3 home runs in this one, and then Anderson would give up a home run as his own to TJ Friedel, first home run in the campaign, and then going deep off of Flaherty, Nathaniel Lowe, he gets a Lowe for his 3rd home run in the campaign. Ellie De La Cruz, 9th home run of the season. Cousin Sal Stewart is 9th, and you'd have Brady Singer give up 2 runs in 5 1/3 innings. Both were solo home runs. Kyle McGonigal, his 2nd home run in the campaign. Spencer Torkelson, his 4th. Connor Phillips from there, pair of outside the bullpen scoreless. Graham Ashcraft, Sam Moll, Amelia Pagan, they all lend a scoreless inning, and for the Pittsburgh Pirates, they were able to lend scoreless innings when they needed them. 6-3, they take down the Milwaukee Brewers in 10 innings. Mitch Keller gives up 3 runs over the course of 5 innings, but how about Isaac Madsen, Mason Montgomery, Dennis Santana, Gregory Soto, you don't mess with the Yohan Ramirez, I'll give you a scoreless inning. Jacob Mizorowski, the Miz Kid, 9 punch-outs in 6 innings, but does allow 3 runs. From there, Aaron Ashby, 2 scoreless innings. Abner Uribe, a scoreless inning. Anel Zerpa, 3 runs, one of which was earned, given up in the 10th inning, hurt by an error out there in the field. Grant Anderson got out of the bullpen scoreless, but Brewers just 1 of 7 with men in scoring position, so getting the job done was the Pittsburgh Pirates. And then the Slam Diego Padres, they slammed the Arizona Diamondbacks, 6-4 the final. Diamondbacks were up 4-0, but Zach Gallen takes comebacker. He's removed from this game after 3 innings and just 1 hit allowed. And Brandon Pfaadt, well, he battled his way through 3 innings, but he gave up 4 runs, all of which were earned. Ty France goes deep off of him, second home run of the season. Then he would go deep off of Andrew Hoffman for his third home run of the campaign. Hoffman gives up that home run in an inning. Taylor Clark, unearned run given up in his inning of work. Jonathan Loaiza gets scoreless inning. Audemars Marquez roughed up in that second inning, but manages to fill 6, gives up 4 runs, did give up a home run as Alec Thomas was able to get a second home run of the campaign, but Adrian Morejon, Jason Adam, Mason Miller, they're all able to supply a scoreless inning and being able to supply another win. How about the New York Yankees? 8-3, they take down the Houston Astros. For the Yankees, they were able to have Brian Weathers weathers the storm. 2 runs allowed in 5 1/3 innings. Does give up home run to Carlos Correa, second home run of the campaign. A little bit later on, Christian Walker, 6th home run of the season. That comes off of Tim Hill. Hill gives up that home run in an inning of work, but way too little, way too late for the Astros as Mike Burrow's not bad in this one. Gives up 2 runs in 5 innings. Both were solo home runs. Trent Grisham, 4th home run of the campaign. Jose Cabrera is 3rd, but then Austin Wells hits it Wells off of Kaiwei Tang. Second home run of the campaign for Tang. He gives up that home run in a 3rd of an inning of work. Stephen Okert, scoreless inning. Bennett Sosa, 2 runs allowed in a 3rd of an inning, but AJ Bluebell, 1 1/3 innings, he allows a run. And then you would have 2 runs allowed in an inning by Jaden Murray, and the Yankees bullpen pretty rock solid in this one. Fernando Cruz, pair of outs outside the bullpen scoreless, and then Jake Bird, Camellia Duvall. They're both able to turn a scoreless inning, and be able to turn a W was the Walker Texas Rangers. 4-3, they're able to take down the Athletics. For the Athletics, Jeffrey Springs gives up all 4 runs over the course of 6 innings, including a home run to Josh Young, 4th home run of the campaign. From there, you did have Scott Barlow, Mike Leiter Jr. give you a scoreless inning. For Mackenzie Gore, not great, not terrible. 3 runs allowed in 5 innings, but bullpen did their part. Cole Winn, Jalen Beeks, Jacob Junis, Jacob Lyons, they're all able to supply a scoreless inning. And then, how about the Kansas City Royals? They awaken with their offense. They are able to get the job done. This by a count of 9-1 as you had Cole Ragans give a really nice performance, 11 punch-outs. He goes 6 innings, giving up 1 run. That 1 run being a solo home run to Joe Adell, who sets fire to the rain. He gets his 4th home run of the campaign, but Barry Arena, Arena is all over this game as he goes for just 3 2/3 innings. He gives up 4 runs, all of which were earned, including a home run. Going deep for the Royals, Salvador Perez, his 4th home run of the campaign. From there, Jordan Romano, man, this guy's been not great to say the least. He gives up 4 runs over the course of 2/3 of an inning. Adam Frazier, position player, out of the bullpen squirrels. Sean Anderson, 3 runs, 2 of which were given up in his inning of work. Nick Sandlin, 4 outside the bullpen squirrels. Chase Seth, an unearned run given up by him. And then Mason Black, John Schreiber, Daniel Lynch. They're all able to get scoreless innings out of the bullpen for the Royals. And then if you're looking at trend-wise what we're getting in Major League Baseball right now, it has been thus far an overwhelming season. We've been seeing things balance out a little bit over the last 7 days, but still, the overrate of Major League Baseball right now is hovering right around about 54.2%, 213 overs to 180 unders. Meanwhile, money line favorites, they're hitting at about 56.1%, 222 and 174 on the money line. You have seen 39 of those money line favorites be unable to cover the run line, though, and if you look at the last 7 days in baseball, favorites are having a good time of it. 56 and 34 on the money line, and the over 8 now 58.4% because we saw a ton of overs on Saturday. 52 overs, 37 unders, and I believe we've had 2 pushes along the way as well. And if you're looking at just what we saw on Saturday, you did have a little bit of rain out, but 11 overs, 3 unders in terms of the Saturday slate. So that's what we're seeing in baseball right now, and that's what we're getting trend-wise. Coming up next, how about if we chatted up with our good friend Curtis Rogers, who does such great work over at 710 Seattle Sports, the Seattle Mariners pre- and post-game host right here on the Baseball Betting Show. Myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the VSiN family of podcasts.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
We're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN family of podcasts. Always great to be joined by this man as we've got Curtis Rogers aboard. He does such amazing work over at 710 Seattle Sports looking at this great game of baseball. I know he does the pre- and post-game hosting for the Seattle Mariners. He does a great job keeping his fingers on the pulse of all things out there in the Pacific Northwest, whether that be the hockey scene. The NBA scene is going to be hot and heavy there in the next few years. That's always nice to be seeing. College basketball. The NFL draft just wrapped up, so he does it all. You're able to follow him on the old Twitter/X, along with Instagram at A Kid From Kent, all together. And Curtis, it's always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you.
Greg, happy to be on with you. And yeah, we're always busy here. It's crazy how you blink and we're almost done with the season's first month in Major League Baseball. Pretty quick how fast this first month is gone, but lots and lots of storylines across this great game of ours, and super excited to dive into it with you.
Absolutely, and you do such great work with the Seattle Mariners, so we'll start there. Just what do you make out of the AL West right now, where it's a hodgepodge? Like, I honestly feel like the Angels have played some okay baseball to this point, but they're below 500. I know you know this all too well. The nemesis of the Mariners for so long has been the Astros, but it's the old Rob Schneider theory of, oh no, we suck again. They are not looking good, to say the least. The Texas Rangers have been up and down. Just what do you make out of this division? Because it feels like it's being served up there for a silver platter, but you've got 5 teams saying, I'm watching my figure.
Yeah, none of them want to take charge in the AL West right now. It's pretty crazy how things have played out so far. You mentioned the Astros. They look like they are fading fast, 10-18 as of Saturday. Who would have thought the Angels would have the best pitcher in baseball to this point in the season and yet would still be 4 games under 500? That seems very Angels of them. It's kind of hearkening back to the Shohei Ohtani days where you had people putting up just jaw-dropping performances and yet they would still lose. But yeah, Jose Soriano, he's been fantastic this year for them, but nothing else much to write home about with the Angels. As for everybody else in the division, I mean, the A's clearly have the offensive punch for sure to put up runs. Got to see them firsthand. Their pitching leaves plenty to be desired. As for the Mariners, right now, it's good to see the middle of the order that they crafted actually kind of live up to the expectations over the last week. In their last 5 games, Cal Raleigh, Julio Rodriguez, and Josh Naylor have combined for 5 home runs. So that is a very encouraging sight to see for this Mariners team that has gotten off to such a slow start this year. The pitching has been there for the most part. Luis Castillo has not looked sharp, but for the most part, the rotation is kind of held up. They're awaiting the return of Bryce Miller soon. So I would say the Mariners are trending up right now. I would say that the A's are kind of trending up. But as for everybody else in the division, it's not really, even the teams that are trending up, it's kind of like you got to dig a little bit to see it. So yeah, the AL West right now, definitely a really tough go of it here in the season's first month.
Oh, no doubt about it. And for the Seattle Mariners, we saw it on Saturday as well with Brian Wu getting all sorts of roughed up, but the team was able to bail him out. And how do you take a look at this Mariners team that was so rough on the road in the first month, but as you know as well as I do, they were the top American League team in terms of run creation away from home last season, and it feels like they've finally been able to find that swagger with that being highlighted on Saturday.
Yeah, the offense has definitely appeared better, and what was interesting about Saturday's offensive performance was it was from a lot of guys who definitely no one expected to have this kind of punch. Will Wilson, I didn't repeat myself, his name is Will Wilson, hit his first career home run. He's a former first-round pick years ago that they just kind of called up off the scrap heap after some injuries, after Brendan Donovan was placed on the IL. They brought him up from AAA. He hits his first career home run. On the first pitch he sees this season, just took a big hack at it, hit it out of the ballpark. Connor Joe, where did you come from? Where did you go? Connor Joe. He had a 2-run single in that game.
Joe makes things go.
Exactly. He had a pretty pivotal 2-run single in that inning. I can't imagine those guys are going to be big factors into the rest of this season for the Mariners, but hey, if you can win a game where you can get some unsung heroes performing for you, you're going to take it. Even though the records don't really quite tell the story right now, I do think the Mariners are a superior team to the Cardinals. I do think the Mariners will finish with a better record than the Cardinals will this year. Cardinals currently sitting at 14-12 after their 2 losses to the Mariners to start the series. A couple of games better than the Mariners right now, but I just think the Mariners have more talent than St. Louis, and I think that's kind of why we're seeing the Mariners here early in the series kind of find the right formula at the end of each of these games, whereas the Cardinals, I think, they didn't really make a big effort to contend this year. What's funny is that they find themselves in the most hotly contested division in baseball right now, the NL Central, with tons and tons of really good teams in it, and they're hanging in there right there. But I think at the end of the day, I think the Cardinals are going to be much more closer towards the bottom of the NL Central by the end of this season.
And I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because we'll get back into the American League in a second, but just what do you make of the NL Central having every team going into Saturday being above 500? And for the most part this year, the NL Central has had more teams above 500 than all 3 divisions in the American League combined.
Yeah, it's been pretty nuts to see. And it's funny because you look at all the teams in the National League Central, I still think the Brewers are one of the best teams in that division. They're currently in last place, having dropped 4 in a row, but they're at 13-13. I still think they have a really good season in front of them. Last year, they got off to a bit of a slow start, ended up winning 97 ball games. So what you do right now may not be indicative of where your season's going to end up, but I do think the Reds are going to be hanging around. They made the playoffs last year as a bit of a surprise, but I think they're an improved team. I think the Cubs are definitely in the playoff hunt. Heck, the Pirates, I mean, who knows if Connor Griffin's bat's going to wake up. He did have a good performance. I believe it was Friday night. Of course, throwing Paul Skeens every fifth day, that will definitely help things out. Could the National League Central get 3 teams into the postseason? I think it's very, very possible. Do I think they're going to get all 3 wild card spots? I don't think so, especially looking in the National League West with the Padres, with the Dodgers. Heck, the Diamondbacks aren't going quietly into the night. So, yeah. And then look, even in the East as well, with how bad the Phillies and Mets have been to start the season, I'm not counting either one of them out, even though, especially the stats saying if a team has a 12-game losing streak, they have never made the playoffs in Major League Baseball history. But you look at just the length of the season that is out in front of us still, there's more than plenty of time for the Mets to dig themselves out, and there's more than plenty of time for the Phillies to dig themselves out. Now, do the Phillies maybe look to change things up in terms of, who's calling the shots there in the dugout? Who knows? But clearly not early enough, because the Red Sox did that today. They just absolutely, it was a bloodbath considering who all got let go. But I don't know if the Phillies are going to follow right behind. But I would imagine, Dave Dombrowski, a very aggressive front office guy in Major League Baseball, I would imagine that probably perked his ears up today and said, maybe that's a route we should go here.
Yeah, that was so interesting. The Red Sox win 17-1 on the road, and the manager is fired. And it was from coaches for hire who hauled them away, which I still think was one of the most hilarious things I've ever seen. As Curtis Rogers, who does such great work over at 710 Seattle Sports, is joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show. And certainly you laid it out. Some of these National League teams, man, it's been a disappointment for them. But we've been talking about it with the American League as well. Yankees are living up to their billing, but other than the Rays, it feels like the entire American League East has had some disappointments. Certainly the AL West. I think that it's fair to say the Tigers have as well. What do you make out of the disappointing teams in the American League? Because it feels like they've been masked by the fact that the Phillies and the Mets have been just so awful this year.
Yeah, that's been the great thing for teams like the Astros and the Red Sox and the Royals to start this season is that, the Mets and the Phillies have grabbed the headlines, and those are 2 of the biggest media markets in Major League Baseball. So if you're a team that has been equally as bad, but maybe not as dramatic in how bad you have been, that's a godsend to you. That's a godsend to the Red Sox, to the Astros especially, because you look at just those 2 organizations in the Mets and the Phillies, they're obviously the ones that have been grabbing the headlines this year. But heck, the Blue Jays making it to the World Series last year, out to the 11-15 start. I don't think anybody's surprised about the Twins and the White Sox being as bad as they are here to start the season. But the Tigers are an interesting one too, Greg. 4-12 away from home, 10-2 at home. It's a pretty extreme split to start the season in terms of home road record. I would imagine the Tigers kind of even that out. They've gotten really good play out of Kevin McGonigal so far. He's a very rich man now, so I would imagine the Tigers get more out of him. Guys that have gotten off to a slow start for them, I look at like Kerry Carpenter. That's a guy who I think is a really dangerous hitter when he's healthy, when he is on, about as automatic as you could get. His standout performance in the American League Division Series, what jumps out to me is to kind of the player that he can be when he is totally on. So, I think the Tigers still very much in it, only a game back of Cleveland. I do think Cleveland and Detroit will be neck and neck. The Royals have a lot of talent. They got to get it together as well before things kind of slip away from them if they're unable to dig themselves out of this early hole.
No question about it. With the Royals, it's been so up and down with them this far this season. They put up a 12 spot on Saturday, but that hasn't been there too much this season. We're going to see them on Sunday Night Baseball here tonight, so that's going to be a lot of fun. And Curtis, we are through now about a month of the season, and who, in your opinion, out of the, shall we say, and air quotes here, surprises? Because we've seen a lot of them out there in the NL Central, like the Pirates and the Cardinals. Very fair to say that they have been. I think it's even fair to say the Minnesota Twins have been. I recognize they don't have the world's greatest record, but there was no expectations for them whatsoever. But out of those anti-air quotes here, surprising teams, teams. Which one do you think has, shall we say, the most elements, the most behind them to be able to have this last for a full 162 games?
Well, I'm going to look at a team in the American League West. I don't think they're necessarily going to compete for a division crown this year, but could they sneak into a wild card spot, especially because how slow of a start everybody's gotten off to in the AL? I'm looking at the Texas Rangers. I think that's a team that has talent. They've got a great pitching staff. And I think, pitching staff is just about all you need right now in Major League Baseball to compete at the highest level. I think they have just enough punch offensively in order to kind of make things a little bit, interesting on their opponent. Definitely swing for a lot of power. Somebody like Jake Berger, he's got 5 home runs. Brandon Nimmo has been a really good pickup for them this offseason. He's been a fun bat to add to that lineup, and especially exchanging him for the aging Marcus Semien. That has been a really good move that the Rangers were able to make this offseason. Still waiting on guys like Wyatt Langford to get going. Evan Carter, he's played some good defense so far, but the bat not necessarily where I think they wanted at this point in his career. But hey, I think the Rangers are a team, Greg, that are definitely worth paying attention to, especially considering how wide open things have been in the American League West here through the season's first month.
Oh, no question about it. When it comes to the Rangers, I really like the pitching as well. Last year, they were a top 5 team in terms of bullpen ERA. They've been rock solid with the bullpen once again this season. You mentioned it with the AL West. It has certainly been up, down, all around, to say the least. So I do think that there's a lot of upside there, and there's always upside whenever you're on the podcast, because I know you are doing such a great job looking at this great game that we all know and love, Curtis. You're doing an amazing job in terms of looking at all things out there in the Pacific Northwest. So let the good people at home know it's all on tap for you and how people are able to follow along on social media and other platforms.
Yeah, we've got plenty of going on here, plenty of baseball reaction, plenty of baseball content we are churning out every single day. Thursday this week, it'll be a brand new edition of Extra Innings as I kind of take a look back at the week that's been and what lies ahead for the Mariners as they finish off this road trip, head home for a series against the Kansas City Royals. And then also, we have got great conversations with Mariners analyst Ryan Nolan-Smith, Jordan Schusterman of Yahoo Sports, one half of the Cespedes Family Barbecue guys. He's a weekly guest of ours. So, yeah, it's a lot of fun up here and just lots and lots of great baseball talk every single day. Greg, always enjoy talking baseball with you whenever we get the chance to do so, and look forward to our next time we do it.
Absolutely. With Curtis, he's doing such an amazing job looking at baseball, basketball, football, you name it, he does it. And every single time he joins me, he lends such great insight. So a big thanks to Curtis for joining me on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Coming next, it is that time of the podcast to give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Sunday as we touch them all.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by Curtis Rogers. Does such a great job looking at not just the Mariners, but the entire landscape of baseball, keeping his finger on the pulse of everything out there in the Pacific Northwest. Every single time he joins me, he lends such great insights and did so once again today. So big thanks, Curtis, for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Sunday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that, as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at @GUnit_81. We're going to be going in Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go with the National League games first in time order, then the American League games in time order, Interleague games. Those are going to be at the bottom. That'll keep things all nice, neat, clean, and easy. Lone exception is that postponed game from yesterday between the Rockies and the Mets. That was added to the bottom since the betting board was already set when that game was postponed, so that has been added at the bottom, and I will cover both of those games together just for clarity. 9:51, 9:52. The Philadelphia Phillies are on the road against the Atlanta Braves. Chris Sale looks to not sell for the Atlanta Braves. Aaron Nola looks to be super for the Phillies. Phillies between plus 130 to plus 140 underdogs, minus 160 to minus 166. That number on Atlanta, 8 to 8.5 is a total on the 8.5. Under is minus 115, and the over is minus 105. And seeing an 8 out there, that over is minus 120, under is even. If you're looking at the run line of the Braves, that's plus 130 to plus 140, and I am very much looking at the Braves run line. I was willing to take a plus 110 or better for Aaron Nola. Things have just been absolutely awful for him the last few seasons as Last year, he posted up a 6.01 ERA with 1.7 home runs per 9 innings, and now he's got his ERA back above 5 to begin this season. Now, I will say, I feel like he's pitched a little bit better than what that ERA would indicate, and that is shown by the fact that he's currently got a 5.06 ERA, 4.03 fielding dependent, getting 9.8 strikeouts per 9 innings, but the deep ball's still hurting him, about 1.3, 1.4 home runs per 9 innings, and faces off against an Atlanta Braves team that has been right atop the big leagues in terms of run creation. When they had that great 2023 campaign, they're averaging 5.75 runs per game. They are right back there this season. That's with Ronald Acuna Jr. getting off to a little bit of a slow start to the season. Drake Baldwin, Matt Olson both entered into yesterday hitting above a 285 with 7 home runs. Michael Harris is giving you 6 home runs hitting above 300. Ozzie Albies is hitting above 300. Mauricio Dubon, Don Smith, these guys are all moving the line, and for the Philadelphia Phillies, they're averaging right around like 3.5 runs per game away from home, second worst in all of the National League. Now, you do have Bryce Harper give you over 350 on base with 6 home runs. Kyle Schwarber not hitting for average, but 8 home runs is 8 home runs. Brandon Marsh has been solid, but these infielders have just not picked it up. Bryson Stott, Alec Marsh, you need more there. The catcher spot has been rough, especially with JT Realmuto being in and out of the lineup. Trey Turner down for what? Hitting below 235, and for the Phillies, it's not great with regards to bullpen right now because Yohan Duran is on the injury list. Jose Alvarado has not been the same since the drug suspension, over a 70 ERA this season. Tanner Banks, Brad Keller, they're able to give you okay innings. You're getting Ryan Kirkring off the injury list, but Zach Pop, Jonathan Bolin, these guys are both now on the injured list, and for the Braves, they entered in the weekend in the top 3 in terms of bullpen ERA. They do have Raciel Iglesias on the injured list, but they signed Robert Suarez, who was the closer for the Padres for the longest time. He's rock solid there. Tyler Kinley, since coming over from the Rockies, sub 250 ERA in a Braves uniform. Dylan Lee has been great for this team. Yoel Hyams has not been good, but even Aaron Bummer's giving you some good innings. Do think they can get Braves domination here? I like that run line of anything of plus 110 or higher. I did some I told 7.6. I think that Chris Sale is good to be able to lock it down here. I recognize that his fielding independent is up a little bit from past years as he's down to about 9 strikeouts per 9 innings, a little bit north of 11 strikeouts per 9 innings last season, but still 279 ERA. He's not giving up a lot of walks. Think that he gets the job done, holds down the Phillies. So I'm going to be willing to take the Braves run line and the total to the under. I told 7.6. 953, 954 is going to be in conjecture with 981, 982. Rockies are on the road against the Mets. In game number 1, it's Jose Quintana on the Rockies side of things, and Nolan McLean goes for the Mets. And then game 2 will be Kodai Senga for the Mets, looking like an opener, and then Chase Solander for the Rockies. I will go with game 1 first. We're seeing a few openers out there. -$2, -225 on the Mets, plus 165 to plus 190 on the Rockies. Total 7.5 to 8 on the 7.5, overs -115, unders -105. 8 as under juice of -115, overs -105, and I do like the under here. I semi-total at a 7.3 for Nolan McLean. He has been really the lone thing that has gone right now for the Mets. He has been great at 2.67 ERA. Fielding independent is a 2.37, 11.3 strikeouts per 9 innings, 0.6 home runs per 9. No complaints here with them. Luke Weaver and also Devin Williams coming on over from the Yankees have not been good in the bullpen. I actually like what you've been able to get out of Brooks Raley coupled with Oscar Brisbane, so those guys have been okay, and with McLean, he should be able to give you some length. Being a doubleheader, you're going to need that, so I think that that's going to be able to help out big time, and now you do have a guy like David Peterson as a long reliever in the bullpen, so that helps out a little bit. For the Mets, the offense has been in the bottom 5 of the big leagues, but now you do get back Juan Soto. That means that Carson Benjay should be seeing a few fewer at-bats. They do have Ori Polanco, Francisco Lindor, both on the injured list right now, and just Bo Bichette, Marcus Semien, these 2 signings are not panning out, especially Semien. I have no idea why they signed him, but Francisco Alvarez has been able to give you 4 home runs at the catcher spot. He and Los Torrens have been able to move the line. Luis Robert, not amazing, but he's looked better than he did with the Chicago White Sox. And on the flip side, this is a Rockies team that, keep in mind, the average is 2.8 runs per game away from home last season, dead stinking last in all of baseball. They're much better this year, but they always do have very demonstrative home and road splits with regards to their offense. You do have a guy like a Mickey Moniak, who's been really good this year, hitting above a 300. He's been able to supply the team with 7+ home runs, but keep in mind, last year he was hitting right around the middle line of 200 away from home. Brenton Doyle was a guy that also had those big home and road splits, but now you do have the young guys like a Troy Johnson, who seems to be a little bit more sturdy there. TJ Romfield has been solid, and this is a Rockies team that does rank in the top 15 in terms of opening ERA. Juan Mejia, Jay Nill, Victor Vodnik, all last year had a sub 4.25 ERA. Vodnik completely yacked that game away against the Padres, about 48 or so hours ago. But Brandon Bernardino, nice signing there, but I just do not trust in Jose Quintana whatsoever. Even last season when he was with the Milwaukee Brewers, he was just a really lucky pitcher. He was only getting about 6.3 strikeouts per 9 innings, 3.96 ERA, but 4.81 fielding dependent. Thus far this season, 6.23 ERA, 7.59 fielding dependent, 2.1 home runs, 6.2 walks per 9 innings. I think that should improve, and he used to be a Met, so somebody told 7.3, like the under. And for the Mets, I set their run line price at a -116. Right now, those initial openers are like plus 105 to a plus 115, so we'll be looking at plus money there. And then in the later game, it's going to be determined against Kodai Senga. Right now, I'm not seeing openers up there, but I'd be willing to lay up to a -165 on the Mets run money line, plus 125 or better on the run line, plus 167 or better. Looking at the Rockies, and then 7.5 or less, like the over, 8 or higher to the under. For Kodai Senga, no good, very bad start to the season. How about an 8.83 ERA thus far? But I do think that he's going to be able to find his sea legs a little bit. Keep in mind, he did have an ERA of a 3.02 last season. Walks are still an issue. Last year, 4.4 walks per 9 innings, 5.2 walks per 9 this year, but laid out the fact that this is a Rockies team that they just don't hit the same away from home. And Chase Solander, he's been having openers come in for him to begin the season, but he's been really effective. 2.88 ERA, 3.33 fielding dependent. Go back to his college days at Tennessee. He was a strikeout artist, 11.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, and even last year, he had an ERA more than 2.5 points better when he was away from home rather than when he was at home. This is going to be game number 2, so the bullpens are probably going to be a little bit tired. That has to be taken into account. So the Rockies are probably going to utilize him for like 5 or so innings. They might try to ride him a little bit longer, so that might be a little bit suspect. But still, I do think that the Rockies can get Senga a little bit more. So plus 167 or better. Looking at the Rockies, minus 165 or better on the money line, / plus 125 or better. Looking at the Mets, money line / run line, then 7.5 or less in on the over, 8 or higher. The under, 955, 956 on the card. The Pirates, they're going to be on the road. They're facing off against the Milwaukee Brewers as Carmen Mulzinski is on the bum for the Pirates, and Kyle Larison goes for the Brewers. Brewers who find themselves between minus 124 to minus 131 favorites. Plus 106 to plus 110 is that number on the Bucko. 7.5 to 8 is the total on the 7.5. Overs minus 115 to minus 120. Unders between even to minus 105 on the 8. Unders minus 120, and the over is even. And with the Brewers, I'm going to be willing to lay it on the money line with them. I did set them at a minus 134. For Harrison, he's been able to be a really nice strikeout artist over his career. The big thing is just being able to hone in and not give out as many walks, and thus far he's been able to do a pretty rock solid job. 3.06 ERA, 3.6 walks per 9 innings with 9.2 punch-outs per 9, keeping the ball in the yard, giving up about 1 home run per 9 innings, and recognize that we've seen a little bit of a fall off with the Brewers bullpen, but the likes of Vladimir Uribe, Trevor McGill, Grant Anderson, these were all guys that had a sub 3.25 ERA last season, like the pickup of Anel Zerpa in the offseason. Brewers entered in the series right around about a 4.36 bullpen ERA after being in the top 10 last year, and I do think that that's going to be rebounding a little bit. And for the Pirates, do have to have a few question marks with regards to their bullpen, because you've seen Yohan Ramirez be able to post up a sub 3 ERA, but he's a guy that really had some struggles a season ago. Justin Lawrence has been very shaky, but he last year, he was very strong for this team as well. And then when it comes to the Pirates, I do think that you're going to be able to get a relatively good start here out of Mulzinski, who he was really good out of the bullpen last year, was a little bit shaky as a starter, but it does feel like he's starting to really put things together. For Mulzinski, right now he's supplying an ERA for the season of a 3.28. The strikeout stuff has climbed. It's up to about 9.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. He has yet to give up a home run this season, but now he faces off against a Brewers team that they don't rely upon the deep ball. The Brewers were 25th last year in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis. They've somehow, some way been able to find Jake Bauers along with Gary Sanchez as power hitters, 5 home runs apiece. William Contreras hasn't even necessarily hit the deep ball, but he continues it darn near 300 for this team. And additionally, you've got Sal Frelick, Bryce Terang, 2 of the better base stealers in all of baseball. Terang has done a solid job moving the line. It's been a little bit slow going for Frelick along with some of these ancillary guys like Joey Ortiz, but now you've got David Hamilton moving the line. Brandon Lockridge has been solid, so like what these guys bring to the table. And for the Pirates, Oniel Cruz, he is way up from a season ago. Last year was sitting at 200. Now he's giving you a 331 on base. He's been able to fly 7+ home runs. Brandon Lau's gotten loud, 6+ home runs, 340 on base. Ryan O'Hearn, I thought, was just such an underrated pickup in the offseason with the Padres and the Orioles. Over a 350 on base, 20+ home runs last season, so he's been strong. But the young guys, Henry Davis, Colin Griffin, who finally got his first home run a few days ago, these guys have been a little bit suspect, and with the Brewers, they just find a way to be able to manufacture offense. I think that that's going to be enough to get it done here. I did somebody told at 7.9. Personally, I would rather have an 8 under rather than a 7.5 over, so looking at that 8 under, and I do like the Brewers here on the money line up to a minus 133. 957, 958 on the card. The Marlins are on the road against the Giants. Landon Roop is on the bump for the Giants. Max Meyer goes for Miami. Miami is an underdog between plus 109 to plus 116, minus 130 to minus 134. That number on the Giants, 7.5 is the total. Overs between minus 110 to a minus 105. Unders between minus 110 to a minus 115. And for the Giants, set them at a minus 130. I'm right now seeing a minus 125 out there. I want to go up to about a minus 130 on this money line. So I'm going to be willing to lay it with the San Francisco Giants. It has been a really rough offense right now, bottom 5 team in the big leagues in terms of run creation, but Landon Roop has been a really nice find for this team. Last year he was giving up about 3.8 walks per 9 innings, but did a nice job keeping things out in front of him, less than a home run per 9 innings, and he's really been able to put it together this far this season. He's posting up a 2.28 ERA, 2.41 fielding independent, has yet to give up a home run, and his strikeout stuff, it is way up, 10.1 strikeouts per 9 innings. And then on the flip side for Max Meyer, he's been much better than he was a season ago. Last year, he just had issues in terms of giving up the deep ball, 1.7 home runs per 9 innings, and 2 years ago, it was even worse at 2.2 strikeouts per 9 innings. Now giving up less than a home run per 9. The command has been a little bit shaky with 4 walks per 9 innings, but he's up to 10 strikeouts per 9, 3.96 ERA, but a 3.49 fielding independent. Playing out there in a pitcher-friendly ballpark, I think is going to be able to bump out a little bit. And when it comes to this Marlins bullpen, it's been a little bit shaky thus far. I do think that there's going to be some upside. You've got guys like Pete Fairbanks, Andrew Nardi, Calvin Fauché, Anthony Bender, who all had a sub 350 ERA last season, and for the most part, especially Pete Fairbanks, the closer, they have been shaky thus far this season, though John King, who they picked up from the Cardinals, has been great. I thought that he would be for the Marlins. This is not necessarily a power hitting team. They entered in the day on Saturday with just 19 home runs overall for the season. Jacob Marcy, Alberto Hernandez was expecting a little bit more there, but they're a good team in terms of moving the line. Like, you've got Liam Hicks sitting over at 300. He's led the way with 5 home runs. Otto Lopez, after a rough start to the year last year, he's hitting above 300, was one of the more unlucky hitters last season. Then Xavier Edwards, 350 average. He's one of the better base stealers in all baseball, along with Marcy. He's giving you over 4 on base. Love that. Owen Casey has been a little bit rough, but now you are also getting Kyle Sowers off the injury list. And I do think that there's some positivity here for the Giants because it's not the worst team in terms of getting on base. After rough starts of the season, we've had the likes of a Jungle Lee be able to step it up. He's now hitting about a 250. Luis Rise, we all know what he's able to do. He's currently hitting well above a 300 for this team, so that's something that you do like to see. But Rafael Devers, 248 on base, along with Willie Adames, and these guys combined 5 home runs. That's something that needs help. Casey Schmidt has been able to give you something. Trio of home runs, hitting nearly a 300. Matt Chapman, he's moved the line, but has not really given you a lot of power. But this is still a Giants team that after last year, they were 4th in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. They're right back in the top 8 this season, even with having a little bit of shakiness from Eric Miller at a sub 2 ERA last season. Ryan Walker's down to about a 3 ERA. JT Brubaker has been pretty solid. He's able to give you multiple innings. He, Caleb Killian, Matt Gage have been able to give you 251 ERA or better. And I trust in Landon Roop to be able to get the job done here. Do think that you get a lower scoring game, so my total at a 7.2. So at the 7.5, like the under for the Giants, willing to lay up to a minus 130 on that money line. 959, 960 on the card. Let's head to Mexico City for Arizona and Slam Diego. The Padres are out there. Michael King, who hopes to be the king, and the Padres will have the first up, so they're officially the road team. And then Ryan Nelson goes for the Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks, they are about even money to plus 105 underdogs, minus 120 to minus 125. Then around the Padres with a total of 15.5 to 16. The 15.5 over and under, anywhere between minus 105 to minus 115 on the 16. Unders minus 120. The over is even, and I made a total of a 14.8. I'm the schmuck that's in on the under. I recognize that things are very elevated out there in Mexico City, more elevation than any MLB ballpark. I mean, it's absolutely wild and crazy, but you saw it through the first 6 innings yesterday. It was a 4-1 game. The starters were able to do their part, even with Zach Allen getting knocked out of that game early. So, I mean, that's honestly, I feel like they've had a little bit of an overreaction here to the total. It's a bandbox, but we've got a very small sample size. I do think that it was a little bit of an overreaction, especially with the San Diego Padres really having some struggles offensively, like right now. Like Freddie Fermin, Manny Machado, Jake Cronenworth, Jackson Merrill, all these guys are hitting at 220 or lower. Gavin Sheets at 259 on base. Recognize he had that home run out there at Coors Field, ironically enough, a few days ago. But I mean, for Fernando Tatis Jr., while he's moved the line, entered into the series with 0 home runs this far this season. Ramon Laureano has really led the way with 4, and Xander Bogaerts has actually not been a waste of money this year. And for the Diamondbacks, last year they were 4th in the league in terms of run creation. We've seen a little bit of a downtick. Gabriel Moreno, the catcher, is right now dealing with a little bit of an injury. Lourdes Gurriel is hitting less than 100. That's not great. Nolan Arenado started to pick it up after a little bit of a rough start to the season, and you got guys that are able to get on base, like Jose Fernandez, Eliarmo Vargas hitting above a 300, and then obviously Corbin Carroll has been rock solid, 390 on base. He's been able to give you some power, but not what you're used to seeing from this Diamondbacks lineup. For the Diamondbacks, I do believe that they're a little bit improved in the bullpen. Paul Sewald, I had low expectations for him coming into the season. He's been a little bit better than expected. Ryan Thompson last year had a sub-3 ERA. Juan Murillo looks a little bit improved. Taylor Clark, Jonathan Loaiza, these were nice pickups. And for the San Diego Padres, they actually got 6+ innings out of Germán Marquez yesterday, and this bullpen was last year number 1 in the big leagues in terms of ERA. They're back in the top 5 thus far this season. They just got Wandy Peralta off the injury list, with an injury to Jeremiah Estrada, but Jason Adam each of the last 3 years of sub-3 ERA. Audrey Monajon has had a rough start to the season. Should be able to pick it up. Mason Miller, he has been absolutely magnificent for this team. I just trusted Michael King way more than Ryan Nelson. Nelson is coming off of a start in which he got 1 out and he gave up 8 runs. He's been up with his strikeout stuff a little bit, actually, 8.7 strikeouts per 9 innings, but that's because he's facing so many more guys than he has in the past. That's not even funny. For Nelson last year, 1 home run, 2.5 walks per 9 innings. This year, 3.9 walks, 1.7 home runs allowed per 9 innings, 6.97 ERA, 5.02 field independence, so should be in for a little bit of positivity. And for King, his strikeout stuff is down a little bit from the past, but still, 8.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's posting up a 2.28 ERA, 0.3 home runs allowed per 9 innings. Do think that the Padres go out there, get the job done. Set them at a -137 on the money line. Don't want to play around with the run line, but going to be willing to take the money line, and I do like this total. The under, so I may total a nice hearty 14.8, 961, 962 on the card. It is the Dodgers, and they're going to be playing us to the Chicago Cubs. Shota Imanaga goes for the Cubs, and Justin Robelski goes for the Dodgers. The Dodgers, who find themselves as -130 to -125 favorites, seeing -132 out there as well. Between +110 to a +115, that number on the Cubs, 9 to 9.5 is the total. On the 9, overs -115 to -120, unders between even a -105. On the 9.5, unders -115, overs -105. Set a total of a 9.1. Personally, I would rather have a 9.5 under rather than a 9 over, because I'm a big believer in Justin Robelski. He's a guy that he's been pretty much been up and down the last few seasons, hasn't necessarily been able to get, shall we say, a lot of consistency in general, but now he's getting a little bit more of a chance, and he's taking it and he's running with it. Right now, 1.88 ERA. Only 3.4 strikeouts per 9 innings. Last year, that was more like 10.3 strikeouts per 9 innings. I think that that'll see an uptick, but he hasn't yet to give up a home run in 24 innings thus far this season. Sub 2 walks per 9 innings. Last year, 2.3 walks per 9 innings. So the command is solid. Recognize that the Dodgers are right now without their main closer in Edwin Diaz, but Tanner Scott, I know he had a hiccup a little bit earlier in the series, but I think that he's going to get back to the form that he was in when he was one of the better relievers in all baseball. Blake Tryon looks to be a little bit cooked, but that said, Alex Vesia, Jack Dreher, these guys had a sub-325 ERA last season. Dodgers are a little bit banged up in the lineup. You've got Tommy Edman, Mookie Betts on the injury list, and Will Smith, he's been dealing with a few ailments as well, but his understudy, Dalton Rushing, is hitting like a 400 with 7 home runs and less than 35 at-bats. Max Muncy, he's been able to go deep 8 times. For the Dodgers, they entered in the series averaging about 4.5 runs per game at home, well over 6 runs per game away from home. Think that starts to iron out a little bit. Andy Paz has cooled off a little bit, but still hitting above 305+ home runs. Shohei Ohtani over 350 on base, 5+ home runs. Kyle Tucker, you know that he's going to find it in this uniform. And for the Cubs, right now they're averaging 6 runs per game away from them. I just don't think that that's necessarily sustainable. Ian Happ has been really good for the team thus far, and you did see it with Cubs last year. They got off to a really hot start with their offense, and then they tailed off in the second half of the season, so they are fast starters. Happ, 7 home runs, hitting about a 250. Dansby Swanson, not aiming for any average, but a 350 on base, 6 home runs thus far this season. Nico Horner, he has been great, 300 average. He's hitting for more power than ever before, but you do have to have questions with someone like a Michael Busch, sub 300 on base. All the catchers are hitting well, like Moises Ballesteros, Miguel Amaya, Carson Kelly. These guys are able to move the line. I just have a lot of concerns with this bullpen right now of the Chicago Cubs, because Phil Matone, Hunter Harvey, Daniel Palencia, Caleb Thielbar, Ethan Roberts are all on the injury list. Like, man, you're left with Hobie Milner, Ben Brown, Jacob Webb, and you're going to be trotting out there like some mix and match starters from the minor league level. So that's not necessarily a place where you want to be. And for Shota Imanaga, it's been a really nice start to the season, but be mindful that even though he's getting like 9.8 strikeouts per 9 innings this year, that was sub 8 strikeouts per 9 innings this season ago. And last year he was getting it hard. He was giving up about 1.8 to 1.9 home runs per 9 innings. He had a sub 4 ERA, but more like a 4.88 fielding independence. So I do think that we might be seeing a little bit of regression here, especially having to play against this Dodgers team. So I do think that the Dodgers, they do find a way to be able to get to Imanaga. Imanaga still does a great job in terms of his command, not giving up a lot of walks. So do feel like the 9.5 total is a little bit too high. So I told 9.1, like the under, but with with the Dodgers. I'm going to be willing to trust in them, set them on the money line more around about a minus 180. So like the Dodgers money line to go along with this total to the under as well. 963, 964 on the card. The Red Sox are going to be on the road against the Baltimore Orioles. Kyle Bradish is on the bump for Baltimore. Connolly early goes for Boston, and Boston is between a plus 118 to a plus 125 underdog, and between minus 140 to minus 146. That number on Baltimore, and 7.5 to 8 is the total. On the 7.5, the over is minus 115, the under is minus 105. On the 8, the under is minus 120, and the over is even. I actually set the Red Sox here at a favorite at minus 108. I'm going to be willing to trust in them on the money line. Now, for the Red Sox, they actually can Alex Cora late on Saturday after they won 17-1. Maybe they knew that the firing was coming, and maybe that'll give them a little bit of a boost because they looked very lackadaisical prior to that game on Saturday. It just felt like there was a lot of lifelessness at the plate, what have you. So maybe this is what they needed to be able to get online, even though he was a very well-respected manager. And you do have a Red Sox team that last year they were 6th in the league in terms of runs per game. They entered in the weekend in the bottom 8. Still have guys that are able to find a way on base, even though Roman Anthony is hitting just a 225, 361 on base. Wilson Contreras, 370 on base with 5 home runs. Wilder Abreu has been able to about a 300, been able to give you 4 home runs. It's been a lot of the infielders like Caleb Durbin, Trevor Story hitting below a 225. Marcelo Meyer, you're able to throw him in there as well. So they need a little bit more of those guys. For the Red Sox last year, they were number 2 in the league in terms of bullpen ERA. And Aroldis Chapman continues to be one of the better closers in all baseball. Probably has been passed by Mason Miller as number 1, but still, he's been able to do a solid job for this team. But what are you going to be able to get out of some of these middle relievers? Greg Weissert has been a relatively solid find for the team ever since he came over last season. Garrett Whitlock is able to be a good multi-inning guy along Danny Kalum, and I like Connolly early. It's a very small sample size for him throughout his career, but he's been giving up less than a half home run per 9 innings, 264 ERA, 275 fielding plan with over 10 strikeouts per 9 innings in his very small sample size of 9 career starts. So I feel like that's going to be able to play here. And for the Baltimore Orioles, they've got a guy in Kyle Bradish that last 2 seasons prior to this season, he had made just 14 starts, and he's looked very erratic this far this season. He's not giving up a lot of home runs or anything like that, but 4.7 walks per 9 innings in his 5 starts thus far. That's a little bit of a concern. That's a big reason why he's got a little bit of a higher ERA than you'd expect at 3.96. Now, the Orioles look a little bit improved in the bullpen. Uncle Rico Garcia has been able to give you sub 350 ERA since the beginning of last season. I really think that Ryan Elsley is starting to look like the guy that we all know and love, and then you've also been able to get some good innings as well out of Yunier Cano, but it's an Orioles lineup that they themselves are in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of run creation. They've got a lot of guys that are banged up. Jackson Holiday, along with Jordan Westberg, being on the injured list, that really hurts them. They just got back Adley Rushman, who's been hitting for no power, but he's been able to find a way to move the line, get on base. Taylor Ward is way down with his power, but he's actually done a good job hitting for over a 400 on base. Like to see that. And Gunnar Anderson's been the opposite, hitting for a 273 on base, 200 batting average, but at the very least he's been able to supply 8 home runs. And for Pete Alonso, not a lot of power, not a lot of on base. They've been relying upon Jeremiah Jackson, 5 home runs over the last 15 days to be able to get things going, but Blaze Alexander, Kobe Mayo, Samuel Basayo, these guys hitting below 200 have really been hurting the team. So it is a circumstance where I do think that the Red Sox are able to pick up another win here. Did somebody tell it at 8.1? I do think that early might be doing for a little bit of regression, and I do think that the Red Sox, with the moves, they do pick it up a little bit on offense. So do like the over. And for the Red Sox, made them a minus 108, like them on the money line. 965, 966 on the card. It's the Cleveland Guardians. They're going to be on the road facing off against the Blue Jays. Patrick Corbin, he is getting the start. It was supposed to be Dylan Cease, but it's now Patrick Corbin. Slade Sassoni goes for Cleveland. Right now, the total is 8, overs between minus 110 to a minus 115, unders between minus 105 to a minus 110. Blue Jays between minus 130 to minus 140 favorites, plus 115 to plus 120 is that number on the Guardians. We'll take a shot on the Guardians on the money line. Needed at least a plus 118 to be able to do so, and I recognize that Slade Sassoni has had himself a rough start to the season. His ERA is currently above a 6, so he has been all over the place there. And last year, he was giving up about 1.7 to 1.8 home runs per 9 innings. He's right back there this year. 1.8 home runs, 4.4 walks allowed per 9 innings. And man, this is such a downgrade for the Blue Jays, because I was thinking I was going to take a shot on the run line with Dylan Cease with how good he's been. Now, instead, you get Patrick Corbin, who's posted up an ERA of above a 5.10 in 4 out of the last 5 years. Lone exception was last year, and he pitched really well in Arlington, but he had over a 5 ERA away from home. Recognize he hasn't been as bad thus far this season with a 3.68 ERA, but 4.49 fielding dependent. He's only getting about 7.5 strikeouts per 9 innings with about 2.5 walks per 9. You have been able to find Tyler Rogers and Louis Varland in that bullpen to be rock solid, but both of those guys got used up yesterday. Mason Flaherty is posting up over a 5 ERA. Jeff Hoffman, he got removed from that closer role, so that's been less than amazing. On the flip side, you've got a Cleveland Guardians bullpen that they were third in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA last year. They have taken a massive setback thus far. Right now, they find themselves in the bottom 12 in terms of bullpen ERA, with a big reason why being Cade Smith and his fall. They had Hunter Gaddis on the injured list to begin the season, but now he's back. Kobe Allard has not been great as a long guy, but I like what Eric Zabrowski is able to bring to the table. Sean Armstrong over a 4 ERA, that should be going downward. Matt Fessa, still not necessarily a fan of him, but I do think that the Guardians are going to be able to get to Corbin a little bit here. For Jose Ramirez was a little bit of a rough start to the season, back above a 340 on base with 6 home runs. They absolutely need Kyle Manzardo to step it up. He has been terrible for the team, as he, Bo Naylor, throwing there someone like a Juan Brito, hitting below a 225, Reese Hoskins as well. They have been able to get a lot out of them, but Daniel Sheeman's hitting above a 300 with some power. Chase Lauder, he's been stuck on 5 home runs for a while. They need him to get it going, but Brian Rocchio moved the line with over a 350 on base. And for the Blue Jays, Vlad Guerrero Jr. continues to get on, but he's only provided 2 home runs. He only had 23 regular season home runs last year as well, so I don't know if they are going to be able to have that flip the switch. You do have guys that are finding a way on. Eloy Jimenez, Miles Straw, Ernie Clement, all hitting above a 300. George Springer being on the injured list is rough, along with, don't call his name, Oleander Kirk, so the catcher spot has been an issue, but Andres Jimenez has been able to give you a little bit more, so do think that you get a higher scoring game here. Semi-total at an 8.6, even if this goes up to an 8.5, like the over, but with the Guardians plus 118 or higher, looking at that money line. 967, 968 on the card. The Twins are going to be on the road against the Rays. Jesse Schultens is on the bump for the Rays, and Simeon Woods Richardson goes for the Twins. Twins do find themselves as a mild underdog here, as you're going to be getting them between plus 112 to a plus 120. Meanwhile, minus 132 to minus 140 is that number on the Rays. Total on this game, 8.5 over and under, anywhere between minus 105 to a minus 115. And I did set the Tampa Bay Rays here at a minus 137 on the money line. Willing to go up to a minus 136 for Jesse Schultens. He had that really nice first few outings for the Rays, got lit up his last time out, and last we saw him really getting a full, shall we say, allotment of innings at the big league level. He was with the Chicago White Sox a few years back. He was posting up a 5.29 ERA. I think that he's improved there. 2.93 ERA, 3.26 field independent thus far. Only about 7.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, but fewer than 2 walks per 9 innings, giving up less than a home run per 9, pitching out there in the Trop, where it's much more pitcher friendly than what they had a season ago. I think that that's going to be beneficial. And for Woods Richardson, he's just a very average pitcher. Like last year, 4.04 ERA, 4.52 field independent. Year before that, 4.17 ERA, 4.12 field independent. Now he's been posting up a 5.96 ERA with a 5.82 field independent thus far. 1.8 home runs, 3.5 walks per 9 innings. I think that normalizes a little bit. I think that we're going to see a little bit of positivity for him. And for the Tampa Bay Rays, I do think that they're going to be able to find a way to get into a bullpen of the Twins that just isn't very good. Cody Lawyerson is on the injured list. They just got Cody Funderburk back off the paternity list, so congratulations to him. But for the Twins, they were a bottom 7 team in terms of bullpen ERA last season. Right now for Minnesota, 4.84 ERA. They're back in the bottom 8 this season. I recognize that the Rays have their bullpen issues. Like, it's been just rough watching Griffin Jacks go out there time and time again. That's a former Minnesota Twin, by the way, but I do think that the former Orioles and Brian Baker, Cole Sulzer, going to be able to give you a little bit of upside. Additionally, you've got a guy in Hunter Biggie, who I think is going to be very solid moving forward for this team as well. It's just been a little bit of an issue in terms of what you've been able to get out of guys like Kevin Kelly and company. But for the Rays, this is a team that was in the upper half of the big leagues in terms of run creation last year, and they're looking very solid once again. Junior Caminero already has a pair of home runs in this series, up to a 350 on base. Chandler Simpson, one of the best base heroes in all baseball, sitting above 300. Yandy Diaz over a 400 on base. Jonathan Aranda's off to a little bit of a rough start in terms of the average after he hit above a 300 last season, but he's giving you power. And then you've got someone like a Johnny DeLuca, Nick Fortes, both hitting above the 280. And for the Twins, they entered in the series a top 10 team in terms of run creation. Matt Wallner along Cody Clements, while they were able to provide power, both of these guys hitting below a 200. You've got Josh Bell, who's been able to move the line with about a 350 on base, functional power out of him, and I've had a really nice find in the outfield out of Austin Martin, hitting above a 325. Byron Buxton, after a rough start to the season, he's starting to pick it up, but Royce Lewis just still looks like he's hurt. Luke Cashiel has also been relatively rough in terms of finding way on base. Both of these guys hitting below 225, and for the Rays, I do think that they do a nice job getting to Woods Richardson here, but I do think that with the Twins most likely regressing a little bit with the lineup, that you're going to be able to get an under here. Semi-total at 80.4, like the under. And for the Rays, I'm willing to lay up to a minus 136 or so on that money line. 969, 970 on the card. The Yankees are on the road against the Houston Astros. Spencer Arrighetti, Mom Spaghetti, is on the bump for the Astros, and Luis Eel is on the bump for the Yankees. Yankees minus 135 to minus 140 favorites, plus 115 to plus 120 is that number on Houston. 9 to 9.5 is the total. On the 9, the over is -130 and the under is +110. Pretty much everywhere else has 9.5 with the over and the under both at -110, and it's just really hard to trust in the Houston Astros right now, even though I'm not necessarily a fan of Luis Gil. I did set the Yankees here on the money line at a -148. I'm going to be willing to lay it. Like with Luis Gil, last year, 6.2 strikeouts, a 5 walks per 9 innings, 3.38 ERA, but a fielding independent above a 4.60. So again, I think that he's going to be certainly giving up some runs here. And for Luis Gil, he does go up against the Houston Astros team that has been so good, a top 7 team in terms of run creation, and he has given up 2.3 home runs per 9 innings, 4 bombs, and 15 and a third innings thus far this season. So that does have to be kept in mind. But again, with Spencer Arrighetti and whoever's going to be coming out of the bullpen for this team, not very trustworthy, because with Josh Hader being on the injured list, you just don't really have a lot of good options. Brian Abreu has an ERA above a 10. AJ Bluebaugh has an ERA above a 6. Ever since Daniel De Los Santos has come off the injured list, he's been solid. And I mean, to the credit of Spencer Arrighetti, 2.45 ERA through his 2 starts, but you have to fear that he gets knocked out of the start early, because last year he posted up 5.1 walks per 9 innings. He's up to 6.5 walks per 9 innings this season, so it's been even worse. He has a fielding independent of 3.77 compared to a 2.45 ERA, and for the Yankees, it looks like a team that's very much gotten online. I recognize that the on-base percentage for some of these guys is not necessarily flashy, like Aaron Judge, typically above a 400 on base. He's more around about a 3.75, but after a little bit of slow start to the season, he's getting it going, and oh yeah, he's got 9 home runs as well. Ben Rice has been absolutely incredible for the team. 9 home runs, hitting well above a 300. Trent Grisham, been a rough start to the season for him. Ryan McMahon, Austin Wells, Jazz Chisholm, these are guys that are hitting below a 225, but Chisholm did have a nice first game of the series on Friday, except for the fact that he challenged a ball that was right down the middle, but other than that, he's had a nice start to the series. Cody Bellinger's, I'll give you about a 350 on base, and Jose Calabrillo has found a way online, and I do think that for the Yankees, even though it's not necessarily the world's greatest bullpen, it's a lot better than it is for the Astros. Tim Hill, Fernando Cruz, Brent Hendrick all had a sub-350 ERA last year. They pick up Camilo Udavall, David Benar at the trade deadline, and they did deal away Luke Weaver in the offseason, but I am for Luke Weaver. He's absolutely looked terrible for the Mets. They are dealing with an injury now to Giancarlo Stanton, which impacts the lineup a little bit, and for the Astros, they're finding a way to be able to generate power. Yordan Alvarez, 10+ home runs, over a 450 on base, and then Jose Altuve, Christian Walker, Carlos Correa, between a 350 to a 365 on base. Walker, 5+ home runs. Cam Smith, he's not aiming for the greatest average, but 3+ home runs. He's giving a little bit more production than expected, but I just don't trust in Arrighetti along with this bullpen. So set my money line price at a -148. Going to be willing to lay with the Yankees. Set a total of a 9.4. I do think that with Arrighetti out there on the bump, he's more trustworthy than pretty much any of the other Astros at this point. So at the 9.5, like the under, and I do like the Yankees on the money line. 971, 972 on the card. It's the Athletics. They are going to be on the road facing off against the Rangers. Kumar Rocker is on the bump for the Rangers, and JT Ginn and Juice is on the bump for the Athletics. And the Athletics do find themselves as a underdog here between +108 to a +110, -126 to a -132 is that number on Texas. 8.5 is the total, over and under anywhere between -105 to a -115. And with the Athletics, I did set them on the money line here at a +136. So I'm going to be willing to lay up to a -135 with the Rangers. Kumar Rocker coming off of just getting rockered with the ERA at a 5.74 last season. Fielding independent was a little bit better, but still, let's call it what it is. It was a very shaky season. 1.5 home runs, 3.2 walks per 9 innings, and he's reduced on the deep ball this year. 0.9 home runs allowed per 9 innings. He's up to 8.3 strikeouts compared to 7.8 strikeouts per 9 innings from a season ago. That's lowered his ERA to a 3.48. Should benefit from the fact that Arlington is one of the most pitcher-friendly ballparks out there in all baseball. And for JT Ginn, I mean, over the last 2 seasons, he's been posting up an ERA well above a 4.50, but feels like he's starting to find a little bit of a groove here. 3.74 ERA, though that does come with a 5.7 fielding independent because he's given up 1.7 home runs, 3.3 walks per 9 innings. You just have to have a fear that if Ginn gives you even an okay start, that it just gets blowtorched by the bullpen. Justin Cerner, Elvis Alvarado had about a 4 ERA last season. Scott Barlow looks completely washed. You've got Mark Leiter Jr. does a great job in terms of lightering up games. I will say for the Athletics, Shea Langolaris, boy is Shea banged thus far this season. He's been able to give the team 6+ home runs. He's hitting above a 300. He has been tremendous, and I will say you're starting to have some mix and match guys give you a little bit of something because Tyler Soderstrom has been a little bit of a disappointment. Nick Kurtz back up to a 4.36 on base. After a rough start to the season, he has been able to find it, but how about Darnell Hernandez? Now he's been able to above a 250. You've been able to have Carlos Cortez be able to give you a bit of something. Zach Kaloff is coming off the injured list, so the Athletics lineup looking a little bit better. Meanwhile, for the Texas Rangers, Brandon Nimmo has been a nice addition at the top of the lineup. They trade away Marcus Semien at the offseason, and right now they are the big winners of that trade because Semien has been a big disappointment. Jake Berger, along with Corey Seager, 5 home runs apiece. Not really hitting for a ton of average. Both of these guys are currently below a 325 in terms of the on base, and Danny Jansen's been a little bit rough at the catcher spot. Have to wonder if they're questioning whether or not they should put in their Kyle Higashioka on a day-in and day-out basis, but Josh Young hitting about a 300 for the Rangers. Last year, they were 5th in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. They're back in the top 5 this season. They already have some injuries with Chris Martin, Robert Garcia, but Jacob Latz is a really good long guy. He's able to give you sub-350 ERA. Jacob Junis, nice pickup, sub-3 ERA last year for the Guardians. Tyler Alexander and Jalen Beeks may not be amazing with their ERAs, but these guys can fill some innings. If Coomer Rocker gets into a little bit of trouble, Cole Winn had a sub-3 ERA last season, so I do think that for the Rangers, they do just enough here to be able to find a way to be able to get the job done. Semi-money line price at a -136, willing to lay up to a -135 there. Very pitcher-friendly ballpark here. Did semi-total at an 8.4, so at the 8.5, do like the under. 973, 974 on the card. The LA Angels are going to be on the road against Kansas City Royals. Seth Lugo goes for the Royals, and Reed Detmers is on the bump for the Angels. Angels do find themselves between even money to +105, -120 to -125. The number on the Royals, and the total is 8.5 over and under, anywhere between -105 to a -115. And I did sell my money line price here at a -127. Willing to lay that -125 with the Royals. Reed Detmers has looked a whole heck of a lot better in a starting role this year than he did a few seasons ago. Maybe that year last year they had in the bullpen was much needed. And even though he had a 3.96 ERA in the bullpen last year, he did have a 3.12 field lead dependent with 11.3 strikeouts per 9 innings. And he's been better than what his ERA would indicate this year. 4.08 ERA, 3.03 field lead dependent, 9.7 strikeouts, 2.5 walks allowed per 9 innings. But you've had Drew Pomeranz be shaky in the bullpen. I like the fact that they've got Brent Suter now, and it feels like it's a more respectable bullpen than it was a season ago, but still, Ryan Zephyrian is honestly a guy that I trust. They lose Brock and Rolberg, who I would argue was really their best relief piece from the season ago. They're still 21st in the league. There's a bullpen ERA of 4.74. Royals actually entered the series dead last with over a 6 bullpen ERA. I have to think that there's positivity here. Lucas Erceg has been a perennial sub-350 ERA guy. You've been able to get good production as well over the years out of Daniel Lynch as a bit of a long guy. You currently are dealing with Carlos Aceves being on the injured list, but still, I do think that these guys are going to be able to straighten out a little bit. And for the Royals, it's been a shaky lineup to say the least. You just see more out of Vinny Pasquantino along with Salvador Perez. Both of these guys entered into yesterday with 3 home runs and hitting below 185. Perez was able to go deep yesterday, so that helps you out a little bit. Bobby Wood Jr. doing a great job getting on base, hitting about a 300 over a 350 on base, but power's not been there. Your main power guy has actually been Carter Jensen. 6 home runs ever since the oversleep situation. He's been solid, and you do have guys like Nick Lofton, Kyle Isbell hitting above a 250, moving the line at the bottom of the lineup, but not a lot of power there. And for the Angels last year, they were one of the biggest all-or-nothing teams in all of baseball. They seem to be straightening out, and in a small sample size, Vaughn Grisham, who got the start yesterday, has been looking pretty solid. Ori Soler still not hitting for average, but he is giving you a 330 on base. He's up to 5+ home runs thus far this season. Zach Neto, 5 home runs. We've seen a drop in his batting average, but he's still finding a way on base. Mike Trout over a 400 on base. You know what you're going to be able to get out of him, but I do think that Seth Lugo is looking a little bit, shall we say, rejuvenated this year. Like Lugo last year didn't have the world's worst ERA, but his fielding independent was over a point higher than his ERA because he was giving up 1.7 home runs, about 3.3 walks per 9 innings, 4.15 ERA, 5.09 fielding dependent. He has been great thus far this season. A 1.15 ERA, not a strikeout artist, but still 8 strikeouts per 9 innings is passable. He's yet to give up a home run this season, so he's been inducing soft contact, and I do think that that's going to be just enough in this scenario to be able to get the job done. Set the Royals on the money line at a -127. I'm going to be willing to lay up to a -125, and I do like the over. They moved the fences in at Kauffman Stadium, so I might tell it at 8.7. 975, 976 on the card. The Tigers are going to be on the road against the Reds. Rhett Lauder looks to make some noise for the Reds, and Cadillo Montero is on the bump for the Tigers. The Tigers are in a rather pick'em game. They're between -102 to a -110, -110 to a -116. That number on the Reds with a total of 9. The under is -115. Over is -105, and I made a total of an 8.8. I do like the under. Now, Cadillo Montero is looking a whole heck of a lot better than he has in the past. He would traditionally be a guy that would post up an ERA above a 450, didn't necessarily get a ton of swing and miss, and the swing and miss stuff still is not there, but 7.4 strikeouts per 9 innings is actually a career best for him. 1.2 walks, 0 home runs allowed per 9 innings thus far. I do think that there might be a little bit of regression with pitching out there in Great American Small Park, though, and for the Reds, Reds, they entered in this series in the bottom 5 in terms of run creation, but we saw that nice explosion on Friday. And you've got featured guys, and Eugenio Suarez, last year 49 home runs. He's been able to give you a respectable on-base thus far this season. Uncle Sal Stewart has been able to do a really nice job in terms of giving this team nearly a 300 average. He's been able to supply 5+ home runs. You've been able to get great production out of Ellie De La Cruz recently as well, so you'd love to be able to see that. He's up to 9 home runs already this season with over a 350 on base. It's just been the ancillary guys. Will Benson, TJ Friedel out there in the outfield hitting below 175. Brian Hayes has been about as useful as a poopy flavored lollipop, but now you've got Spencer Steer getting online. Nate Lowe starting to pay some dividends, and for the Tigers, they're just way down with their power. Spencer Torkelson, Riley Green, fewer than 3 home runs apiece, and Green's getting on base. He's giving you 4 on base. Kevin McGonigal, he's not a home run guy, but he's able to move the line. He's giving you over a 425 on base. Javi Baez has been able to 275. You've got Gleyber Torres finding a way on. Cole Keith hitting above a 300, but that power just has not been there. And for the Tigers, I do think that this bullpen is going to be improving moving forward. Tyler Holton, Brent Herter, Will Vest, all these guys gave you a sub-350 ERA last season. Kyle Finnegan, since he got over from the Nationals, he's been able to supply a sub-3 ERA. So I do think that there's some upside with these guys, but when you do have Kenley Jansen as your closer, that's an issue. And I don't know if the Reds are going to be continuing to be number 1 in terms of bullpen ERA. I just don't trust an Emilio Pagan at the closer's role. And we did see Tony Santillan have some hiccups a little bit earlier in the series, but the way that these guys in the bullpen have been performing, Santillan, who I just mentioned, Graham Ashcraft, Sam Bull, Connor Phillips, all these guys give you a sub-240 ERA, throwing there Pierce Johnson, who was a nice pickup in the offseason. I do think that this is sustainable, and for Rhett Lauder, well, this is not a guy that's going to go out there and light the world on fire in terms of the strikeout stuff. He does a really good job in terms of not beating himself. Right now, 3.10 ERA, despite the fact that he's only getting 5.6 strikeouts per 9 innings, because he's allowing 0.3 home runs, 2.8 walks per 9 innings. I do think that that's enough for the Reds to be able to get the job done. With the Reds, I set their money line price at a -131. I'm going to be willing to lay it, and I do like the under, so I fill it at 8.8. 977, 978 on the card. The Washington Nationals are going to be on the road against the Chicago White Sox. Sean Burke goes for the Southsiders, and Foster Griffin is on the bump for the Nationals. 8.5 is the total. Under is -115 to -120. Over is between even to -105 for the White Sox, and anywhere between -125 to -132, and then +105 to +112 is that number on the Nationals. Set the Nationals at a -103. I'm going to be willing to take a shot on them on the money line. I recognize that for the Nationals, this is a really bad bullpen. They're back in the bottom 5 in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. There's really not a lot of trustworthiness with the likes of Clayton Beeter, Cino Perez, and company. Brad Lord can be a relatively good long guy for you, but it's just not great. But who are the Chicago White Sox to be a trustworthy bullpen either? They're in the bottom 5 in terms of bullpen ERA. When Anthony Dominguez is your closer, not a place where you want to be. Jordan Leisure is posting up north of a 6 ERA. Like, they're relying upon Jordan Nix, as Valdo Beto as relief pieces. This is not a place where you want to be. Sean Newcomb has looked relatively okay, but I still don't think he should be on an MLB roster. And for the Nationals, I just believe they have the better offense here. They entered in the series in the top 5 in terms of runs per game. James Wood has given you good Wood, 4 on base with 7+ home runs this season. You've got CJ Abrams with 6 home runs. He's been able to give you an on-base percentage as right around about a 395. He got a little bit of a day off yesterday as a pinch hitter, so that'll help him out a little bit. And then you just have these other guys like Adele Lyle hitting at 285. Joe Vivas has been able to about a 290. You're starting to see a little bit more out of Brady House as well. And for the Chicago White Sox, while you've been able to have the Powerball going for this team, it's not a team that necessarily hits for a lot of average. Colson Montgomery, he's been able to give you 7 home runs at a 342 on base, but more like a 232 average. Obviously, what you've seen out of Mutaka Murakami has been incredible. He's up to 10+ home runs, hitting it for a 242, and if you take a look at it, he's got 11 home runs right now and 23 total hits. So he's got 12 hits that have not been home runs and 11 home runs. So that's been interesting to look at, to say the least. And then Edgar Quiero has taken a massive setback. He and Luanel Acuna both hitting for less than a 275 on base, both hitting below the Mendoza of 200. Andrew Benintendi like a 255 on base. It's been a little bit rough there. So I do think that these are going to be some massive issues. And when it comes to Sean Burke, he's been able to work on the walks. Last year, he was giving up about 4.2 walks per 9 innings. He's been a little bit better on that front, but still has a little bit of shakiness. We've seen his swing and miss stuff not necessarily be where it was a season ago. Right now for Burke, 5.10 ERA with about 6.8 strikeouts per 9 innings. So with the Nationals, I did set them at a -103. I'm going to be willing to take a shot on them on the money line. I do think that you're going to get some run scoring in this game as well. So I told it at 8.7. So at the 8.5, I do like the over as well. Wrap things up with 979, 980 on the card. The Mariners are going to be on the road against the St. Louis Cardinals. Michael McGreevy goes for the Cardinals. Emerson Hancock is on the bump for the Mariners. Mariners do find themselves as a good-sized favorite between -142 to a -149, +120 to a +125 is that number on St. Louis. 8 is the total. Over is between -110 to a -115. Under is between -105 to a -110. And I set the St. Louis Cardinals at a -112. I'm going to be one take a shot on the money line for Emerson Hancock. He's been off to a really nice start to the season, but you have to question if there's going to be a little bit of regression to this 2.83 ERA because he's got a 3.97 fielding dependent, 1.6 home runs allowed per 9 innings. Now, he's been able to do a much better job in terms of getting strikeouts. Last few seasons, he has been sub-7 strikeouts per 9 innings. Thus far this season, he's been able to get the whiffs at more around about a 8.8 strikeout per 9 inning clip, and he's worked on the walks as well. 1.3 walks per 9 innings, but still, he posted up at least a 4.50 ERA each of his first 3 seasons in the big leagues. You have to wonder if he's able to take that big of a jump. And then for Michael McGreevy, he's been a guy that has always been reliant upon just doing a good job with regards to command and really just making sure that he doesn't beat himself, because this is not a guy that's going to be going out there getting a bunch of strikeouts. Last year, right around about 5.8 strikeouts per 9 innings. This year, all the way down to 4.9 strikeouts per 9 innings, but 1.3 home runs, 1.6 walks allowed per 9 innings. That's been able to keep his ERA low at a 3.29. And for the Seattle Mariners, nice outburst yesterday with their offense. Prior to that, averaging 2.5 runs per game away from him. Dead last in all of baseball. Part of that was that Cal Raleigh just had a miserable first few weeks of the season along Josh Naylor. Feels like both of these guys are starting to come along for the ride. And for the Mariners, they've been dealing with a few injuries. Brandon Donovan has been in and out of the lineup. That's the former St. Louis Cardinal, by the way, and that's been hurting them a little bit, but they've been able to find something in Cole Young, who's been able to give about a 340 on base. Randy Rosarena, not necessarily hitting for a ton of power, but he's been able to do a nice job, give you about a 375 on base. And Julio Rodriguez is just always a slow starter. Finally, 1 DPS rate, second home run of the season. It looks like he's starting to get it going as well. But then on the flip side for the Cardinals, this team is in the upper half of the big leagues in terms of run creation. Mason Wynn, after a little bit of a slow start to the season, now he's hitting above a 275. Ravon Herrera, JJ Weatherall, both are giving you at least a 370 on base. Not necessarily impressive batting averages, but they're doing a solid job finding a way to be able to move the line. Nolan Gorman, he's been really ineffective for the team thus far this season. But that said, Nate Church, he had a pair of home runs yesterday. He seems to be finding it for this team. You've had Jordan Walker be able to give you 8 home runs. Cardinals bullpens right now looking very, very shaky. I like what I'm seeing out of Jojo Romero, sub 350 ERA last season, but then you've got Ryan Stanek, who's posting up an ERA above a 6. Matt Savanson has not been great. George Ariano is not a guy that really trusts him, but I mean, all of a sudden, Andres Munoz has become less than trustworthy for the Mariners. He's had a shaky start to the season. Now, you do have the likes of Matt Brash, along with Edward Bizzardo, Gabe Spiral at a sub 3 ERA last season for the team, but they only got 3 innings out of Brian Wu yesterday, so their bullpen got a little bit cooked as well. This is a bit of a body clock game as well, so this is a spot where I do think that the St. Louis Cardinals do find a way to be able to get the job done. Set the Cardinals at a -112, so I do like them on the money line. Made my total at an 8.2, so at the 8, I also like the over, and that'll wrap things up for the Sunday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Big thanks to Curtis Rogers, who does such great work over at 710 Seattle Sports as the pre- and post-game host for the Mariners on the radio side. He joined me in the last segment. If you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you do have 1 to 2 ways to fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, letters CM, maybe does not matter. So as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like here on this podcast via that 5-star review. I'm coming at you guys every single day with picks and analysis on every game, every day, and I'll be back with you once again tomorrow. Thank you.